broadcast. She's a former cricketer and COA member. We have Georgie Heath. She's a sports journalist joining us on the broadcast. Charu Sharma is a sports commentator. And we have Harini Rana, who's a sports expert. And of course, I continue to have Karishma here in the studio with us. Who should I go to first? I think I should go to Charu first. Charu, your first thoughts on what the BCCI has done. Look, I went back to 2019 when the women, the US women's soccer team won the FIFA World Cup and then had to take their association, national association, to court for equal pay. The BCCI needed no such prodding. The women didn't ask for it. That pay parity has come and not a day too soon.
All of it's correct. Small but important step for the BCCI and a giant step for Indian women cricketers. Day to celebrate. Let's not be churlish because there's so many other things that can be done for women's cricket. But so first step or the first thought is delightful because certain developed nations, and you mentioned New Zealand earlier, have done this before. And there was always this question of, are we really, what about India? It's the richest board in the world, cricket-wise, and so on and so forth. And yet the women seem to be suffering. The women are playing very good cricket over the last few years. So that wrong has been righted. That imbalance has been corrected for sure. But remember, everything comes with a certain responsibility, and perhaps all assets also turn to liabilities. Now there's so much more expectation, but we're paying you so much more. How about playing and winning a World Cup or so? Also, and again, I don't mean to be churlish, but a lot of sports persons in our part of the world are taught to say, I play for my country, I play for my flag, I don't care about the money. I think we are now admitting that, we do play for the money. And why not? Because, if you want to be a professional, if you want to be the best in the world, then it's good to be compensated. And the remuneration needs to be as high as is possible. There are many more things need to be done. And most of all, more cricket matches in India. I'm sure the BCCI will organize that because, after all, even internationally, only top 15, 18 play. The women's IPL will take care of a lot of that too. But I know you'll talk about that differently. I am individually, personally delighted.
Yes, we would want to see more women's cricket matches. We see so many of matches as far as men are concerned, not enough as far as the women are concerned. Diana, just come in here. We've had conversations about the women's IPL. I understand this is a step forward. This may be a small step, but this is a step forward. Do you think it will end up being a game changer, or do you think we are making too much out of it?
At the outset, I would like to congratulate BCCI for this historic announcement they have made regarding the pay hike for the match fees. As we had, some time back when I was on your show and we were talking on this pay parity, I then also said that it will take some time. These are small steps to be taken. We need to take one step at a time. There's no hurry to put everything in one basket and just say that across the board, everything is hunky-dory, now give everything away. We need time. Women's IPL will be a game changer. 100% it will be a game changer, as it was in the men's cricket. Men's IPL changed the face of cricket in India and on the globe. So why not women's IPL will change the face of the cricket in India, definitely, and across the globe. A lot of foreign players are waiting. They come for the T20 league during the men's IPL playoffs when they play those 3 games. And I think everybody is looking forward to the women's IPL. It'll be a good broadcasting tender. I'm sure the broadcasters will pump in money. I'm sure the franchisees will pump in money also to purchase the 5 teams. And it's happy days ahead for women's cricket.
It is happy days ahead for women's cricket. Let me quickly get in Georgie Heath for an international perspective. Georgie, what the BCCI has done in many ways will be called landmark. I want to ask you if it is your sense that other boards would follow as well, because possibly the other boards can move away from the move, saying that look, the BCCI has the money, we don't.
I think that is a difficult one. Looking at money and the state of the world at the moment, it is hard to just, say, oh, these people have done it, so we can do it too. You do have to take that into consideration. But at the same time, these are elite sportswomen. They put the same hours, the same effort into their sport and going worldwide with their, with their global game as these Indian players. And yes, it is difficult on that side, but we're not necessarily saying, throw money at something that doesn't deserve it. These are elite women. These are elite sports people. And there's got to be some way it's going to be looked into across the world that it's got to be a fair game for anyone, regardless of your gender, but not just your gender. We've got to look at disabilities and going forward in that as well in the future. We can't disregard that one. But yes, it's hard. There are going to be boards who have less money to put into that. Obviously, looking at your associate nations and that kind of thing. But if you look at some of the big players in the world, your South Africa's, your England's, Australia put in their deal back in 2017 to have equal pay per hour. Obviously, they've got, a big pot of gold in Australia to put into sport as well. So that is something that has to be taken into consideration. But it's one of those, you look at the ratio, I guess, perhaps, what are they paying their men's for their sport? And then what are the women being paid in comparison to that? And it might not necessarily be the same amount of money as the likes of India putting into both of their sides. But if we can do something to level those playing fields globally, it's going to be such a big step for the women's game.
There's a question I want to ask both Karishma and Harini. Karishma, maybe you first. You've covered cricket, you've covered the game for a long while now. In the conversations that you've had with women cricketers all through these years, has there been a bit of heartburn as far as getting? I don't think they are expecting, and we'll talk about that in just a bit. Charu has all, hinted at it, but that's something we'll talk about in just a bit. Whether it's reasonable for anyone to expect that the women will get paid the same contract fee, the central contract fee. But as far as the match fee is concerned, you're on national duty. Has there been heartburn for some time now in the women cricket team about this pay parity, at least as far as match fee is concerned? And were those concerns, conveyed to the BCCI?
Yes, absolutely, Shreya. There have been concerns about pay parity. In fact, Mithali Raj, Jhulan Goswami were the ones who spoke about it years ago, 5 to 6 years back, when they spoke about having the same sort of struggle in women's cricket as the men's cricket and performing well in spite of having the facilities that men cricket team gets. So they did speak about it. It is coming a few years late if we talk about the Mithali Raj era or the Jhulan Goswami era, but it's finally happening. And the former cricketers, like we were speaking to one from Delhi today, Mrs. Anjali Sharma, she spoke about the time when they used to play in 1978. They didn't even have the money to sort of travel. They used to use their own money. From that point to come to a point where you're being paid equal to men's cricket is a huge, huge moment today for women's cricket, and the struggle days are behind, and the golden era is now going to start for women's cricket, and everyone, including former greats, are only looking forward to the times to come rather than thinking about the struggle days again.
But for the golden moment to arrive in India as far as women's cricket is concerned, two things are necessary. First, I do think that the team needs to win the World Cup. Hopefully, if God is kind, that will happen. And secondly, more importantly, viewers need to tune in when the women cricket team is playing. People need to go to the stadiums to watch their own cricket team, women's cricket team play. Do you see both of those things happening? I mean, I hope they win the World Cup, so let's not debate that. But the fact is that are there enough people watching women's cricket? Because if more people watch women's cricket is how the revenue will be generated. There will be visibility, revenue is generated. And hopefully, the contracts, the central contracts will have some degree of parity, if not complete.
With regards to, I was there at the 2017 World Cup final that we missed out, and 2020 T20 World Cup final that happened at MCG, which had about 85,000 plus people where India was playing. And I think it's imminent for India to have a 1983 women's cricket team to have a 1983 kind of a moment, or a 2011 kind of a moment that the men's team had. That's going to sort of trigger a lot of changes. It's evident the intention of the BCCI. I think applause to Jesha and his team and Arun Dhumal as well for putting this out today. And it's pleasing that, this has been a conversation that's been happening in the corridors of BCCI. There have been a lot of backroom meetings that have taken place. A lot of opinion of current players and former women cricketers have been taken before this decision has come to the fore and it has been made official. And when you talk about, is women's cricket IP a sustainable IP? 100%. We've seen research done by the International Cricket Council. One of the reasons that International Cricket Council has decided to ungroup and hold separate women's World Cup and not piggy it along with the men's World Cup is because there is sustainability. It makes business sense. It makes the fact that viewers are tuning in. And if you talk about today's day and age, like the Asia Cup that we had, the Commonwealth Game performance, when was the last time did you see people on social media, organically on Twitter, having conversations about India's performance? Everybody, yes, Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma would have a different fan following, but people today on the streets are aware of women's cricket, who are the players, their names. And I think that in a way, this is the first step, and women's IPL and the brands are taking notice. If you look at Nike, they came up. If you look at the men's jersey MPL, they came up with a campaign which showcased the men's and the women's cricketers together. So I think brands are taking notice, fans are taking notice, and I think this is just like the first step. I think for me personally, it's the intention of BCCI. I live for the day to see the retainers contract being equal. I'm an optimist, but I know that we'll get there. But definitely sort of looking forward to women's IPL because that will be a game changer.
Is it just going to go to Diana with that same question before I come to the question of investments to Charu? Diana, is it reasonable for us to expect that the next step should be, parity as far as central contracts are concerned? Look at the disparity. I just can't get my eyes off this statistic, which is why I keep reading it out, and I hope our producers will put it down on screen as well. In the A+ category, no woman, this is where you'll earn 7 crore rupees. As far as grade A is concerned, 50 crores for the men, 50 lakh for the women. I mean, the Indian men's cricket captain is earning 55 crore rupees and the women's captain is earning 50 lakh rupees. This can be made a bit reasonable as well. Can it or can it not, Diana?
Shreya, let me tell you, go back a few years. When I was a COA member, that time there was no so much A+ and all that. The amount increased only when we had a meeting with Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli, Dhoni. All these players came to us. We had a discussion, whole day discussion. We discussed the FTPs and then decided on the contracts. We raised the fees to this level. We raised the fee for the women also. It's not that it's not been there. It started off with a small amount. It started that women got central contracts. Was a big step forward also, and that was before COA. So I don't see anything. We have to wait and watch. We have to perform a little better. We need consistency in our performances. We need to win a lot more series to be taken note of, and that will come once the Women IPL kicks off and once a trophy of either the T20 World Cup next year or, as you said, the World Cup in 2025 in India. I think that is a little bit too far, but still, I think we are waiting for that moment. It will be absolutely, when we win that, it will be a game changer for us.
Charu, but it's not just about an investment from the BCCI, is it? It's also an investment from brands who advertise, from cricket fans. Look at, yes, now we know who Mithali Raj is. In fact, there's a film that has been made on her as well. We know who the cricket captain of the women's team is. But beyond that, do you see a commitment, not just from the BCCI? Look, whatever said and done, I understand that there's a long way to go, but the BCCI has shown intent. But will that same amount of investment need to be shown by the brands and by cricket fans in this country as well?
We certainly hope so, but we can't bop them on the head and ask them to either watch in larger numbers or pay women more for an endorsement. That happened organically. I say once again, I'm a huge fan of women's cricket. I watch just about every women's cricket match. And I'm a big fan of the Indian women cricketers. The BCCI, one more salute to them for doing something that I think is even before its time. They've done fabulously. And you forgot Roger Binny because he's now the new ICC chief. So, I beg your pardon, BCCI chief. So good on him as well. we have to realize that when we talk about the joy of the women now being paid just the same as men in terms of match fee, the rest of the environment is not quite catching up yet. And I'm sorry to be brutally honest, but in terms of numbers of people watching, or in terms of television ratings independently, or in terms of the endorsements you mentioned, all you need to do is find out how much was Mithali Raj paid for a certain endorsement and how much is Virat Kohli. I think there'll be much more disparity than what the board was saying earlier on. So, we can't force the situation. Yes, the Indian women cricketers will just have to play better, be more visible, perhaps win more. All of that has already been said. But many more in India need to start playing. The biggest hole for women's cricket in India is just the lack of the number of matches or tournaments within India, leave alone overseas, which of course we hope they'll pay a lot more. Now, with this news of the pay parity, will many more women cricket or young girls take to cricket? Hopefully, but remember, it's a very, very steep pyramid. So now only 15, 20 young ladies will make some money because of cricket. If the women's IPL happens, maybe another 100 will. That's still only 15 or so. Imagine the numbers, because we also have to be prepared, parents have to be prepared, all of us, for the fact that if millions play, only 115 are going to be in the gravy. So, there are many different sides to the world of sport. And, we can't get into a deeper discussion here. So let's just be, I suppose, triumphant about the fact that the Indian women cricketers, having done so much, worked so hard, are now acknowledged to be putting in the same kind of effort by being paid that kind of money. But so much more needs to be done to create this anywhere near the kind of euphoria or the kind of popularity that men's cricket has. Of course, they've had a much longer run in terms of time. So, there is that.
And talking about that much longer run, Diana, before I end this conversation, I want you to help us understand how far women's cricket in India has traveled. When you started off, what were things like to a situation where the BCCI has come out to say, hey, if you're on national duty, you'll get paid the same as men?
When we started, we never got paid at all. I played a World Cup in Australia after putting out 10,000 rupees to play for India. So let's not go back into those days. Those days were different. We played the game because we loved the game and we had passion for the game. We laid the foundation. The foundation was so strong. We played for 20 years. I played for 20 years, even though we were not getting any financial assistance. But still, it was the railways. I would like to put this on record. It was the Indian Railways, which was the lifeline of women's cricket at that time. They gave jobs to women cricketers, and that's where we came in. Air India came in much later, but because once BCCI merged, Air India had to disband their team. So Railways is still there, still giving jobs to the domestic cricketers, men or women. So let's not forget their role in promoting the game also. But what we did was, I loved the game, I played for passion, I played for the love of the game, and I wanted to be there in the limelight to see that we women got whatever we wanted. Yes, we did get through Mr. Madhavrao Scindia, through Mr. Antule, who was the Chief Minister of Maharashtra then, who gave us the money to go abroad to play cricket. And there were a lot of talented players who could not play India because they didn't have the money. So today's lot, I salute them. Take this opportunity to play and play well and keep bringing laurels to the country and to the organization called BCCI.
All right, we'll leave it there for the moment. This has been a very interesting chat. Thank you all for joining us. Diana, Georgie, Charu joining us as well, Haruni and Karishma, thank you very much for this very interesting chat. It's a small step forward. Hopefully, the Indian team will win the World Cup, and who knows, someday maybe central contracts will be the same for men and women. I don't think that's happening in our lifetimes, though. We'll leave it there for the moment. Thank you very much. Thanks everyone. I'm slipping into a quick break on the show. There's news coming up on the other side. Do stay with us.